It's 8:30 at KWBE, and it's time now for our Ask the Mayor program. Dave Needfeld with you here on your Thursday morning as we welcome in Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan to our studios. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Dave, good morning. I'm doing great.
Are you doing great?
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah. Looks like we got a little rain last night.
Yeah.
Maybe a little wind.
A little wind and a little rain. I saw a few garbage cans tipped over this morning on my way to work, so the wind's kind of got a little gusty there.
That's right.
So gotta remember that sometimes. Yeah, when those winds pick up, you may find yourself cleaning up a little bit afterwards.
Yeah,
so.
and in our yard we have one of those wonderful trees that keeps spitting up branches every one time there's a windstorm. So, I guess that keeps me busy.
There you go. But we get some moisture out of it, and that's always good. Everything's always seems to be dry, so nice to get a nice rain and keep things green for
Absolutely,
us.
yeah.
So here we are, Ask the Mayor. We got several things we're going to be talking about this morning as far as city issues. If you have a question, feel free to call in, and we'll pass it along during the program this morning here on KWBE. One of the things we want to do, first of all, we'll just kind of look back on your Monday night's Beatrice City Council meeting, and it was during that meeting that you awarded a bid of over $98,000 for some improvements to the heart of downtown Beatrice.
Yes. We got a grant to, I guess what I would say, start working on dressing up the downtown a little more. It is not connected with the RAISE grant. The RAISE grant is the big grant that we've got that will take over the design of moving the highway one block and then making Court Street a lot more pedestrian friendly. But these are targeted for a block on 4th Street. I think it's trying to figure out right there, kind of where I guess the one where Heidos have redone a building right there. And I think it's between Court and Market.
Okay.
And that one's going to basically start dressing it up by putting some planters and landscaping in those two areas and dress it up and make it look kind of as a model of what it's eventually going to look like all over downtown. And we think that it's going to be attractive. It's going to dress up that area and start, with everything. Renovation has to take place over and over to continue to get people interested and energized for the downtown.
So, just, I guess, how intense are we getting here? I mean, are we tearing everything out and then putting everything in new, or are we just doing a little touch-up here and there, or what are we looking at here?
Most of it is planters and things that go along the sides of the street.
Okay.
There'll be very little interruption. There will be a little bit of interruption, but there'll be very little interruption for folks. It just dresses that up. Where there's going to be probably more disruption is we also are going to address the issue from Ella to Court on 5th Street. I know that was a project that was done probably longer ago than what it seems like it's still new, but what we're going to do there is we're actually going to move parking stalls in about 3 feet on each side. We'll have to redo a couple of planters. The planters on each end are going to stay, but the ending result will give us even though we're not changing the width of the lanes, because those are the right width, what we're doing is we're moving the parking in on each side by 3 feet. So you won't have such a narrow street that we have today. I know that's and that was a question that we had.
Yep.
Is what about that area? So it is something that we're going to address. I think when that original redone of that block was done, I think the concept worked out pretty well. But times have changed, and when you think about today, you've got SUVs, you've got dual cab pickups. You just got some bigger vehicles, and those those back ends stick out. And when they stick out, it seems like, and I'll admit, I avoid that street because when you're driving down there, it just feels really cramped. And so 5th Street will undergo a lot more of a renovation than 4th Street, which is going to be more cosmetic.
Okay, because size of vehicles today are a little bit bigger than they were a few years ago, like you said, and I know, the question that we had, was something about, why can we not have truck parking and such? and they're asking about just how that street's going to. So you are going to be addressing that issue.
Correct. It's gonna be widened out and the same. So basically, you still have 11 and a half or 12-foot lanes there, but the parking just isn't deep enough.
Right.
And so we're going to make the parking deeper, and we're going to fix that issue.
Would it be safe to say that you would hear a complaint about that maybe once a week or a couple times a week or once a month or?
I think it's been quite frequent, and it really depends on, with complaints sometimes spread out over 8 council members, the mayor, and then, the city administration, we hear it quite often. And so I think also, one of our partners, as always, a lot of the design process has kind of been with a downtown committee that's included Main Street, and Main Street has helped and has asked, how do we fix that issue? So it's a nice partnership that we have with Main Street as we make some improvements to downtown ahead of the major renovations, which would take place probably in 3 or 4 years.
So time-wise, what are we looking here on this schedule to start on this project and complete the project then?
Well, the bid was just approved, and then we'll get on the schedule with Teeman Construction here in town. They got the bid. We're hoping we're done sometime this fall. As far as the start date, it kind of depends on what they've got in the hopper right now, and our folks will work with Teeman's to come up with a good construction plan. And then they're going to be busy also. I think Main Street is going to be busy as well, visiting with the property owners that might be affected, because you're going to lose a little bit of parking certain periods of time, and we want to make sure that we're good partners with everybody as we do this project.
Absolutely. All right. So again, the bid a little bit over $98,000 for that project, and I know folks on that 5th Street will be happy to hear that some things are going to be corrected there.
Most will. There are some that it was. I think it was. How do I say this? I think it was the right idea maybe at the time. I think when that was put in, I think the idea was to kind of make it a little bit narrower and have a more calming effect on the downtown in that block. And then it's kind of funny, as we talked about, and we'll talk about a few other things here, but things ebb and flow. I mean, if you think about, what was it? Probably the 80s, you had cars shrink. That was when gas prices were high. I remember the cars I had weren't the size of the cars that we have today. And then, boom, we have the onset of probably the things that's changed the auto industry a lot is the SUVs and the pickups that now have crew cabs that are just as roomy as a car. And so, I think things change, and now it's a chance to redo this and I think make it a lot safer. When you think about it, as narrow as it was, you always have people that kind of dart out, and this gives us a little more room for error.
And that's a busy street. I mean, there's a lot of people parking there. That's one of those blocks where it's actually kind of hard to find a parking spot sometimes.
Correct. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to look really pretty good.
Speaking of small cars, I had a Chevy Nova and a Geo Prism. Those are small vehicles. You could park a lot of those on 5th Street and not even see them.
We would be okay, right?
We'd be okay with that. Those were small vehicles, yes. But you're right. Things have changed, and we got a little bigger vehicles now.
We do.
All right. Let's move on to another item that took place on Monday night, and that was the fact that you're going to be doing a little improvement or expansion at the pickleball courts. We're going to get some seating, aren't we?
We are. This was, for those of you that don't know, there are pickleball courts in Chautauqua Park up on the hill where tennis courts used to be. As we talked about ebbs and flows and new things, pickleball has become quite popular. Those courts are busy. As a matter of fact, in the wintertime, they play pickleball at the auditorium. Yep. And so it is becoming a growing sport. And what this will happen is the seating is actually going to be terrace seating. So it's built up higher on the hill. And Lottman Construction, I believe, was the one that got the bid. And he's going to be working on making terraces. And so as you bring your lawn chair, You can put your lawn chair in the grass, and it'll be terraced down, so you don't have anybody in front of you, and watch pickleball and wait your turn to play pickleball and those type of things. So it's just going to be an enhancement to that pickleball area, which had seen a number of improvements based on the popularity of the sport.
We were talking before the program that you don't play pickleball. I don't play pickleball, but there are folks out there who are really dedicated to this sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is growing leaps and bounds. Along with everything else, I have a sister in Omaha that we don't see each other very often, so we sometimes meet in like Ashland or someplace. And I guess there's a new microbrewery there. And one of the things that they did was they put indoor pickleballs. And I think it's their way to draw attention during the fall and winter. So, it was kind of unique to. They were so busy, we went someplace else. But, walked up, and there's the pickleball courts inside.
Maybe we need to try it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think, I don't know, probably the golf club fits better in my hand than a paddle.
All right, time frame for this. What are they thinking?
I think it's one of those projects that we're going to work with the contractor into their schedule. It's not a pressing thing, but it's one that's needs to get done, and we'll get it done.
Was this something that just recently came to your attention, or have they been wanting this for quite a while now?
I think they've been wanting this for quite a while, and they helped raise funds.
Okay.
The funds came from 3 different sources. Some of the funds came from the city. Some of the funds came from the Pickleball Association that they have here. And some of the funds actually came from Beatrice Plus.
Okay.
And so they are participating in this project with some of the donations that they have received as well.
Okay. 8:42 is our time. We'll take a short break, come back. We do have some questions that some folks have submitted in through our Facebook page. We'll get to those here as we work our way through our program on KWBE. 8:44 at KWBE. Ask the Mayor as we visit with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan this morning here on KWBE. I know there were some armor coating projects that were getting underway this week. I haven't been out and about to see if they're underway or not, but I think they were scheduled to start Monday, weren't they? And get some.
Yeah, I think they were, and that's one of the industries that the armor coating folks can move in when they can kind of move in because they're started, and it takes 2 or 3 days and they're out. Mm-hmm. So I think they're here started. I haven't been to those locations either. Yeah. That's one of the nice things that I've always said is I have between the city administrator and all of the department heads, they do a great job. So I'm not 100% sure where they've started. I know that Jason is on the ball and gets them in and gets them out and helps them get their job done. And I really will just be the first one to tell you that that's one of the things that you find as mayor that you don't find as a city council member is how good of staff we have, from the city administrator to the department heads to all the people that work. It's always surprised me is just, we just have quality workers that have worked for the city for a long time.
I was going to say, we're talking long term, aren't we?
We're talking long term, and they know what they're doing. And, it hasn't been easy over the last 5 years with the supply chain of getting the things that you need from, we always talk about the big items, but even the small items are hard to get. And, when you think about the armor coating, a lot goes into that from a number of people from the city, even though somebody else is doing it, because we try to notify all the neighbors, and you want to make sure people don't park on the street when that happens. And then you want to make sure it gets done right. So every one of those projects, there's a lot of hours in from the city employees as well to ensure that it gets done right. Yeah. And they know what they're doing, and they're doing a great job.
Hats off to them. Appreciate the work they put in, that's for sure. You did want to talk a little bit this morning, before we get to a couple questions here that were submitted in. You wanted to talk a little bit about the consent agenda of the city council. Maybe to explain a little bit for some folks as to how that consent agenda works.
Right. I sometimes get that question. And a lot of times it happens when the consent agenda is lengthy. And, I wonder if I'm going to make it through it, as many items as I have to read. But we do get through it. But a lot of times it has to do with timing. So if you look at the 2 city council meetings that we had in June, the second one was over I want to say maybe on the 16th or something.
Okay.
And so now there was 3 weeks. And so July 7th was the latest we could have a council meeting because it's on the first Monday and this third Monday. And so that 3-week time period, everything on the consent agenda are typically routine things, but they have to be voted on by the city council. For instance, R.L. Tiemann, we had to make sure that we accepted their bid. And then when you look at a number of lines where you've got the treasurer's report of claims and Bosler's report of claims and the BPW report of claims, we need to make sure we pay people. And if that bill came in on June 18th, the opportunity for us to approve it and pay for it didn't happen until July. Now, the one nice thing about the consent agenda, if any council member would like to have a further explanation, pull it off because they've got questions, they can do so. And Monday night's a perfect example. We think we had 6 items pulled off just for a brief explanation or clarification, and then those are voted on individually. And so the consent agenda really helps us do the routine work of the city and also make sure that we're responsible and pay the bills that we've incurred.
And other councils across do that too, don't
absolutely.
they?
Absolutely. It is a normal practice for cities and for governmental agencies to look at that, whether it's the Southeast Community College or it's the city of Beatrice or the city of Lincoln. That's a lot. And then we basically say all items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council. And we'll be acting on one motion unless there's separate discussion by another council member. So it typically is just the routine items of a working business.
Can somebody from the public ask for something to be discussed off the consent agenda?
They would have to work through their council member because the council member is the one who would have to pull it off.
Gotcha.
So if they look at the consent agenda and they happen to be in Ward 3, they could approach Dana or they could approach Mike and ask for that item to be clarified, and that can be done several ways. Then the council member could actually visit with the city administration and ask the questions they need and get back to that person, or they can also pull it off that night for a further explanation based on the question that they would have.
Okay, all right. So you have you've had folks ask you about it then, like, hey,
well, every once in a while we
just
do.
Kind of people just kind of wondering, huh?
And that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is because sometimes I won't say that going to a city council meeting or maybe watching on TV is the most popular,
right?
But yet it is how government works, and they're good questions.
All right. Speaking of questions, did have a question on our Facebook page wanting to know what the law is on bicycles on sidewalks downtown. They say they have a store downtown. They've had customers leave the store and come close to getting hit by kids on bicycles that are riding on the sidewalk. So is there a law? Are we aware of one? Or
I first of all, I appreciate the question. I see where it's coming from.
Right.
I don't have the answer.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go ask people that know the ordinance a little better than I do. I mean, there's a lot of them, and I just don't know every one of them.
Right.
So I apologize for that. I mean, I can see the concern. The hardest part that I will say, if there is a law, will be enforcement, because those things happen so quick and. And
they're gone.
and they're gone.
Yeah.
But it is something that I will certainly ask and see if I can get a clarification on.
Because it does make sense. I mean,
it does.
There is a safety issue here. You're right.
Is.
Person comes out of a store and you got a young boy who's just having a good time riding his bike, and things happen.
Things happen, and you don't think it's going to happen, but it does. Yeah. So that's one of those questions that I'm glad it's asked because I don't know the answer.
Okay. The mayor will look into it.
That's right.
We have somebody else who has asked a question. Why isn't Riverside Park taken care of as well as Chautauqua Park?
I guess I don't know exactly that's pretty broad.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about, whether it's mowing, whether it's watering, whether it's features. I don't know quite where they're going with that one, but I will tell you that we'll give that question to the department head of the parks, who has got a lot of parks to take care of, and we'll mention it as that as a concern.
Yeah, she wasn't specific on what she's looking at that's not being taken care of. Could be the mowing, could be the playground equipment. I don't know.
Right.
Shelter.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say, I mean, you got a lot of parks to take care of. You got a lot of grounds to take care of.
We have 12,
Yeah.
12 or 13 parks, and between parks also include the trails. So we have the trails, and it is the smallest department that we have. We have, and of course, the head of the department, and then we have 4 full-time employees. And everybody else are part-time. Of course, part-time ties into the season of mowing, so they're very, very busy. That's not an excuse if something's not getting taken care of, but they are very busy. And the one nice thing about the parks is they are a nice amenity for any city, and we're very blessed with all the parks, the small parks to the large parks that we have.
There's a lot of mowing. That has to be done. A lot of mowing.
There is, and that's even changed too with the size of the mowers. I mean, we've now got some mowers that are, oh goodness, who knows how wide they are when they mow, but there still is a lot of mowing to be done, and every year, we have to find part-time people that are willing to mow, and so, I just want definitely the comment I'll send to Mr. Peathod, who is the department head, but he is always on the go. He is trying to manage, Chautauqua Park, and you got Hannibal Park. Those are 2 big ones, and you've got Riverside Park, and then you've got all the little ones in between.
There, I don't think some folks realize the small ones, the
neighborhood,
the little neighborhood parks. There's quite a few of those here in town, aren't there?
There are.
That you do have.
There are. There's little spots where, and we got some grants to upgrade over the next couple of years the playground equipment, and so we'll be continuing moving on to that. And one of the things I will also mention that the folks that are in charge of the parks are also in charge of all the buildings that the city has, and so that's really a huge job for a small group of people.
I walk my dogs frequently at Hannibal Park, and I'm always amazed at how that park has changed over the years. the things that you've added and how that thing has just really grown.
Well, yeah, and that was a unique opportunity for us because we were able to figure out how to do naming rights for that park. And so that park actually has probably a little bit more funding to it than most of the other parks. And the naming rights for that park worked out very, very well. And it just continue to help that park grow.
Right. Is that the most used park, you think, or is it hard to say? Because you got a lot of sporting activities there. Chautauqua Park, you've a big park with all the playgrounds. Then you got Riverside with all the camping. So I don't know. Is there one that has more use than the other, you think, or?
Well, I think it's probably busier because of softball.
Yeah.
The batting cages, tennis courts there. But if you think Chautauqua and Riverside, they've got a pretty good following, and people like to camp.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing is they're nice campsites, and they're busy in the summer. And I think some of them are repeat folks. And I know some people who like to camp, don't live very far away, but they like to get in their camper and set it up for the weekend and then pull it back home. So I'm glad we have all the parks that we do have and the trails.
Absolutely. We'll take a short break, wrap it up with Mayor Morgan after this here on KWBE. Just a couple minutes left here in our program as we get ready to wrap it up with Mayor Bob Morgan. And as we do, I know, Mayor, you wanted to just touch briefly on a legislative bill that you wanted to just kind of give us an update on here.
Well, LB 840 funding has worked out really well for the city. It is a incentive for people to use to expand businesses. And, it was really kind of nice to just give a shout out to 2 companies that have located in the city of Beatrice, and LB 840 helped. One was Landmark Snacks. They've been a very strong part of the city of Beatrice. They do a great job. And they were able to basically pay off their LB 840 funding, and it's a great honor to have them in town. and the people that have Jimmy John's. When they put up, we basically had a forgivable loan with benchmarks, and the folks at Nixon Restaurant and Properties Incorporated and Sam Nixon, they also hit a benchmark to forgive $10,000. And, when you think about it, Landmark Snacks are a huge employer, and they are a huge part of our community. And I will tell you that I see a lot of people coming in and out of Jimmy John's. And so both of those have benefited the city, and it was nice to be able to kind of shout out what LB 840 funds are used for and how successful they are.
Yeah, two businesses, like you said, Landmark Snacks, they have a pretty big team there. They do employ a lot of folks. And then, I know everybody was excited when it was announced that Jimmy John's was coming to town, and you're right. I drive by all the time, and there's somebody always coming in and out of there.
So and that just was a nice addition to that corner.
Yep, very much so.
So as we think about LB 840 funds and why do you have them and the incentives that they can bring in to help the community, that's just a great example and one of the things that we took care of on Monday night.
All right. Mayor, thanks for coming in. That's going to wrap it up for the day here on KWBE on our Ask the Mayor program. Always good to have you in, keeping us up to date on what's happening with the city. Always good to have you come in. So,
thank you, Dave. I think we'll do it again.
Will we do it again? All right, we'll do it again. We'll see you again here in the near future then. All right, next week. That's our Ask the Mayor program here on KWBE Beatrice. Our time is 9 o'clock. Time for news from ABC.